4:15 in the morning. We're not in Cape Town anymore, but I'll explain that in a minute. Let's go take some pictures. So I'm about 6 hours away from Cape Town in the city or town of Plettenburg Bay, aka Plet, which is right along this beautiful stretch of coast on the garden route. And we have one day here, and I have a bunch of photos I'm trying to make for a client. One of those photos needs to be kind of a really cool seascape photo, and there is some cool seascapes here. So sunrise is up in maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes, so I gotta try to work a composition quick.
Tell me, are we holding on to nothing but habits? 'Cause I'm falling and I don't know how to move, and I'm really trying. You're running out of sight and I'm fading in and out.
So my camera's set up and I've got this cool seascape in front of me, but I'm an idiot. Somehow, when we were packing up the place in Cape Town, I packed the filters somewhere deep in my bag and I forgot to bring them this morning. And this is a scenario that people would tell you need filters, but I'm gonna get around it. Have about a 1-second exposure going on the water, and then once I get a shot of the water I really like, I'm gonna set my camera up on an exposure for the sky. And then since I need a photo of me in the gear, I'm gonna set this guy up on time-lapse, taking photos every second or 2 seconds, and then I'm gonna hike up, stand somewhere in the frame, but with the exposure good for the sky, and then I'll blend those two images together in Photoshop.
We've been here for a while, and I'm losing track of time. We're only going down. Now where do we go from here? Tell me, where do we go from here? Show me. All I need is directions, 'cause I'm feeling.
So standing over there on the highest rock, I thought it was safe, and I got hammered with a wave. Waist up, actually it hit me in the face, but most of it just got me waist up, so I'm soaked. But I think I got the photo. Sun's just coming up now, and the light from the sun coming up wasn't hitting any of this water or this rock, and so it kind of looks a bit dull. So I think I'm actually gonna run over to the other side and try a different composition quick, but I only got a minute or two because the sun's on its way up.
Where do we go from here? My thoughts inside are all over the place, like I am drowning. All the voices are messing with my head, and I keep on stumbling. You're running out of sight, and I'm fading in and out. We're only going down. We've been here for a while, and I'm losing track of time. We're only going down. Now where do we go from here? Tell me, where do we go from here? Show me. All I need is directions, 'cause I'm feeling the pressure.
Okay, not sure I got the photo I was hoping for the client. Partly to blame on the lack of filters, partly to blame on the light. Let's just blame everybody but myself. But we do have time here on the garden route, so I should be able to get a couple photos for said client. I do want to talk about said client on the channel today, so we're gonna drive back to the hotel.
All I need is directions, 'cause I'm feeling the pressure. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Okay, I am home at our hotel in Plettenburg Bay. I'm gonna talk about Plettenburg Bay and why we're here in a little bit, but first I'm gonna talk about the client, because I know a lot of you are probably interested in how assignments like this work, what this assignment is, and stuff like that. I have a contract with Bauer, and if you've been following this channel for a long time, I've had assignments off and on for like 3-4 years with Bauer. I love them. as a brand. They create outdoor gear, you know, tents, clothing, accessories, all sorts of stuff. In fact, if you've been watching this channel for ages, you know that I'm basically covered in Eddie Bauer gear, because every time I have an assignment with them, there's a gear allowance, meaning that I can have like a budget to buy a bunch of Eddie Bauer clothing and gear. So I have Eddie Bauer sweaters, my suitcase is Eddie Bauer, my tents are Eddie Bauer, my sleeping bags are Eddie Bauer. Basically everything's from Uncle Eddie. But as good as the gear is, I love them as a client because I seem to have total freedom to do whatever I want. Basically, the brief is so simple. It basically just says you need to go out and take 16 outdoor living photos over a span of 4 months. Of course, in those photos, there needs to be one or more people, you know, using Eddie Bauer gear. So in the photos from this morning, they're quite simple. They're long exposure selfies with me standing wearing my Eddie Bauer jacket that I had on this morning. Really simple. And there's no like pressure to do anything different than your style. It's just like me going out to do what I want, except for instead of putting on my flowery hummingbird t-shirt, I put on my Eddie Bauer top. I can't talk too much about the contract itself because NDA, but I do need to say that back when I did my talk about Instagram and I said you don't need Instagram to become a professional photographer, this is one of the kind of rare cases that you actually do. Because a lot of contracts these days, they have multiple layers. So yes, I'm making images for Eddie Bauer, but also part of the contract is posting the images on Instagram. So if I didn't have an Instagram account with, you know, more than 50,000 followers, I don't think I would get a contract like this. It's not totally necessary to have social media followings to get work in travel photography or photography in general, but it is very helpful. It makes things a lot easier. And I mentioned in that Instagram video that you need a unique selling point or you need a niche. I don't have a niche. For me, my unique selling point is that I have social media following, so that kind of works like my niche. If you don't have a niche, you need to start thinking about what's my unique selling point as a photographer. What is the reason that brands would work with me and not someone else? So over the next 3 months or so, we'll go out and we'll shoot more photos for this brief. In fact, this afternoon, Jodie and I are gonna go on a little bit of a hike and try to get some more images. So before the talking bit of this video carries on for way too long, I wanna mention why we're here in Plettenburg Bay and not back in Cape Town. We were busy. Quite simply, we had 4 or 5 days in Cape Town between our huge Southern Africa trip and actually packing up and leaving. And we were just so freaking busy. It was incredible how busy we are. There was so much driving on that road trip. It was just, I was just behind on absolutely everything, to the point that we just spent 4 days behind the computer, smashing out work in the apartment, packing up, running around town, tying up loose ends. It was just so busy that there was no time to even lift a camera. So in the end, I didn't really have time to film anything there. I didn't have time to go shoot any locations. I didn't have any time to even film the packing up process or, you know, say a proper goodbye to Cape Town. I will say this though. We will be back in Cape Town. Cape Town was so good to us. It was such an incredible city, and the area has so much to offer. There's so much that we didn't do in Cape Town and Cape Town area because we know we'll be back. Thank you, Cape Town. It was incredible. It's just been unreal, and I'm already looking forward to returning. Jodie and I have come down to Robberg Nature Rerserve, which is this incredible kind of bushland almost here just near Plettenburg Bay. I came here 5 years ago. I didn't photograph it because the closing times were too close to sunset. This time of year, closing time is like a half an hour after sunset. So potentially, if we can find a cool location, we can photograph sunset. So we're gonna explore a little bit and hopefully find a landscape to photograph and maybe get a couple more of these Eddie Bauer photos.
They were in high school when they met, and things got kinda awkward. With sparks in the air, he would stare at her in class, and she would try to act cool, but it was obvious, like, ooh.
We just saw a bunch of Dassy, and they were really not shy at all. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna film them. So I turned on the gimbal and the beep of the gimbal goes ding when you turn it on. As soon as it went ding, all the dassies, and I think they're dassy, I'm not actually sure, all the dassies went sprinting, they went dashing.
They would be together. Ooh. And one day she said, write me a love song, 'cause I know you'll make it beautiful. And maybe I'll call you my sweetheart.
So we come to this point here on the trail, almost at the bottom of the sand dune, and there's this amazing view. It's incredible, but obviously we can't be here any later than now because we got to get back to the parking lot, which is still an hour's walk. So we can't photograph this at the right time, but I'm gonna take the EOS R off the gimbal and get a couple portraits of Jodie, just because the light, the backlight is really beautiful right now, and I think this will come out cool. So a couple quick shots, not Eddie Bauer shots, but just shots of Jodie, because
my sweetheart, and promise nobody can steal me away. Then I am yours, 'cause I want you and I wanted you to know. He looked at her and then he smiled, picked up a pen and paper and started writing. Probably something about her eyes and how they're always shining, or something cliche like ooh.
so I think I kind of botched things because we went hiking past this area along the coast that was really incredible. But I thought the trail carried on along the coast up here and that we'd get better light farther ahead, but the trail goes up into the hills. So I don't think I'm gonna get a photo this afternoon, but that's okay. Reality is, so out of shape, I probably just needed the exercise. So I'm gonna hike back. If we see a photo along the way, we'll take it. If not, we got some exercise.
Calling each other sweetheart. I promise nobody can get in their way or steal the show. They're in love now, and I wanted you to know.
Ended up getting a photo, I think, actually, just looking like I'm hiking up this trail with that beautiful, beautiful backdrop. So ended up getting photos both this morning and this afternoon. Stoked. And I actually think I'm gonna call this a video, and I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.